Does Wi-Fi Tribe care about the environmental and social impact of digital nomadism?
I personally care about the environmental and social impact that Wi-Fi Tribe has and that digital nomads as a whole have on the world. I'm half German, half Bolivian, so I have this mix of a developing country and, if you will, a first world country, a developed country. I and growing up in Germany, I it was always about how can we make sure that we're not destroying the environment. There's a very environmentally conscious movement in Germany. And I understand that just the fact that we're traveling, that's a big strain on the environment. One of the things that we do when we travel in this way is that we slow down. We don't hop from one place to the next. We don't take these quick business flights for 2 days and then fly back again. We don't we don't do the quick holidays, 5 days here, 3 days there, 7 days here. This lifestyle is about slow travel. In fact, the more you get into it, the more you realize the only way to make this sustainable is to slow everything down. It's sustainable for you, and ultimately it's more sustainable for the planet as well. If you can spend more time in a place, really try to absorb living there. We try to put our chapters in a way where you can hop from one destination to the next, but that those hops aren't big. It's not like we go all the way around the world. Instead, the idea is that we can go from Peru to Bolivia. You can even take a bus between the two, or it's a very short flight between those, and have these journeys in different areas of the world that make it easy for us to at least try our best to reduce the amount of strain that we have just from taking long haul flights. That's on sustainability. Then, in terms of the impact that it has on other people, especially on locals who are in those cities, that is definitely one of the main things that are coming about now, are being noticed about this whole digital nomad movement. It's that nomads have more money to spend, and then they come into cities in countries where they'll just book the Airbnb. They'll stay there. They'll experience it. Nobody has any ill intentions, but just by moving in there, somebody else is displaced. Somebody else is moving out. What happens is that locals will obviously see that there's this increase in tourism, increase in demand in their cities. And naturally, just supply and demand, just from people seeing an opportunity, there will be people who will say, ooh, let me rent out my apartment. Let me put my place on Airbnb. Let me maybe buy a home or an apartment that I can now turn into a little bit of a mini side income through Airbnb, or substantial side income through Airbnb. And that's all that it takes. Again, it's just supply and demand. More people will see these opportunities, more people will jump on that, and then it just snowballs until suddenly a lot of people are displaced. And they're displaced because they realize that it doesn't make sense for them to live in that apartment when they could earn so much more money from renting that apartment out to somebody else. This is a microcosm. This is what happens on an individual basis, but you just extrapolate that across everybody in that city who has access to potentially renting out their apartment. And so again, there's no ill intention on either side, but the result of it is that you then slowly start to displace locals who can no longer afford the rents that then keep on going up and up and up. I personally believe that the answer to this problem isn't in tourism. It's not in the people who are deciding to come to that country. It has to lie primarily with the governments, because the governments and the local people want tourism. They want the wealth that this can bring into the country. What they don't want is they don't want that to be concentrated into this one super popular tiny little part of their city that then leads to all of this displacement. What the locals and what the governments want is they want to spread that interest, spread that tourism interest out to as many parts of their country and that city as they possibly can, so that that wealth is spread to everybody equally, ideally. And this will only happen if governments incentivize that. If governments maybe have campaigns that encourage tourists to look at other areas of their countries rather than just these cities in particular. I want to take Cape Town as an example. Cape Town has become incredibly popular. In just a few years, the prices have skyrocketed. We're looking at places that maybe before were $1,000 per month are now at $4,000, $5,000 for a single bedroom apartment. This is all concentrated in a very, very small area of Cape Town. Just that central part that's along the water, Sea Point, Green Point. And it only happens over a few months in the year, really just 4 or 5 months of the year. And then for the other months, the prices drop completely because nobody's going there at that time because of weather. What Cape Town and what South Africa in general can do is help spread that interest, that demand out to so many other areas of South Africa. South Africa is a stunning country, and there are so many places where, honestly, not just digital nomads, but tourists in general should be going to. So I see this as an opportunity that has to be managed incredibly well. What can we do as digital nomads, as individuals, or what can we do as Wi-Fi Tribe to help support that? We can also try to put some new destinations on the map. For example, we're now going to be going to Cape Town, but to a place that's not as crowded. We're going to go to a place called Hout Bay. It's about 20, 30 minutes away from Cape Town. We're also considering maybe next year we might go over to a Wilderness, which is a few hours away from Cape Town. And it's a totally different part of South Africa, a totally different experience of South Africa. And hopefully by doing that and by showing our community and maybe others who are looking at Wi-Fi Tribe as well, that these are other areas that you could maybe be excited about exploring as well within South Africa, we might just start to spark interest and maybe just start to have a few more people consider to go somewhere else. And then when they do, maybe their friends will come along as well. And so it's just the beginning of starting to shift things around a little bit. That's what I think we all can do to support this very big problem for locals.